consultees decided that a good idea would be to find people to mentor our community and to keep us moving in the track of how do we bring and understand research and integrate it to our practices, and how do researchers come and study us as practitioners, but not in a way of studying us as an experiment, but as collaborators to work with us. And with that, we were following a model that we had unofficially done with our distinguished friend and colleague who is also here, Jim Sloda. And we decided that this formal way of doing it would be to invite our colleague Yannis Dimitriadis to be the first in this to inaugurate this model of invited scholar who works with us before he comes to visit, or she comes to visit, and spends a week with us mentoring, talking to the community, learning about our community, and hopefully continuing on after the visit. So Professor Dimitriadis was a natural selection for this initiative. He kindly accepted this crazy idea that we had, and we are delighted that you are here. So I'm not going to read his whole biography, but basically he just to give you a sense of why Yannis is the ideal person. So he is a professor at the engineering at the University of Valladolid. I was practicing all afternoon. You would never think I did, in Spain, which is sort of just a little bit north of Madrid, for those of you who are interested. He has been the coordinator of a group of engineering and learning scientists that are part of a group called HCAI. And EMIC being, for those of you who understand a little bit of qualitative research, that EMIC, which is that reflectiveness. He's been part of this group with over 20 researchers for over, I think you said today it was
27 years.
27 years, which is very impressive. Professor Dimitriadis has been involved with computer-supported collaboration, which is CSCL, and which is part of the learning sciences. He's an active member with the initiatives that are involved with learning analytics. One of the organizations called LAC is the Learning Analytics Knowledge, I guess, and many, many more. So he has a deep understanding of learning analytics, a deep understanding of artificial intelligence. And for the young people who are in the room, he will explain that artificial intelligence did not start 5 months ago with ChatGPT. I'm not being patronizing, and it's just that everybody thinks that this is new, and in fact, it's been studied for a very long time. And I think I'm so delighted that you're here, especially the young people in the room, because you are the future. You are the ones who are going to be affected by this. And you're the ones that we are discussing our ideas about. So please feel invited. Please feel that you can contribute freely when we have question and answer period. And please reflect on the things that are meaningful and annoying, and all of those things that we know as researchers and teachers you must be feeling as you enter this very brave new world, and we are all challenged by it. So without further ado, Yannis, welcome.
Thank you. As I said, also in a smaller group before, I mean, I'm delighted to be here. I mean, I've been here in 2013, okay, when I thought that the community would be a new one, right? And then I come back 11 years later, and the community is still there. And this is one of the most amazing things that I have seen, and that's why I prefer to be here instead of, for example, going to LAC next couple of weeks ago in Japan. To Japan. So I've said, okay, I'm going to work over here instead of going and doing tourism in Japan. Okay. So the title is very long. Okay. I talk about learning analytics, about artificial intelligence, education in general. Okay. Of course, I'm not going to talk about everything over here. It's evident, no? But I'm talking about the human-centeredness that was mentioned in this previous talk, about the centered approach, and I'm especially interested in one of the types of humans that are involved in the process, in the teaching learning process, that are teachers. Okay, it does not mean that I'm not interested in students, but that are the objective of our work. No? But I think that teachers are quite relevant, and especially on strange term in our literature survey, we found out that there are quite few people talking about agency. Recently, it's becoming a little bit more popular as a concept. And so we talk about teacher agency, okay? That is directly related with the human-centeredness, okay? And then it's fate, okay? So it's terrible. That is and we're going to find out what are the initials, okay? So, first thing, I'm just, as mentioned also previously, I'm just a conveyor of many ideas that have gone through my journey, okay? Some of them are with me now, some of them were passed on me, okay? I could have included Jim also. I mean, it's Marcia over there, Marceline. And, you know, several people, Mutlu Kukurova is over there, who is going hopefully be the keynote speaker in June. Great guy, okay? So try to enjoy, you know, if he manages to stay for more days, try to take the most out of him, okay? Okay, and of course, it's my group, you know, in different instances, okay? Yeah, okay. So what are the things that to discuss? Okay, if we think about AI and learning analytics that are different, I don't know, but somehow different. What can contribute to education? That is teaching, learning, and you know the whole social context. And why? I mean, my statement is that agency, human agency, is necessary in order to comply with these fate principles. Okay, that is fairness, accountability, trust, and ethics. Of course, as we are going to see later, okay, there are so many definitions of what is fate and what is each one of them, okay? But probably now there are many people discussing about these words, okay? Not always, okay? But recently I can see that many people are interested, and this is, among other things, because the generative AI movement is so powerful, but it's so threatening at the same time that people say, what could be happen? Ambiguity, privacy, energy, whatever, okay? So these are the two things that to discuss. Okay, so when we talk about artificial intelligence, okay, so what is artificial intelligence? It's everything over here, okay? I'm not going to discuss what are these blocks and these types and these movements or whatever. So it is any computational method that goes towards a goal based on inferences, either from theory, this is the old stuff, you know, knowledge-based, or from data. This is the recent stuff that is only in the last 50 years, okay? So this is, as Liz said before, okay, so when people say, I'm going to use artificial intelligence, this is like saying, I'm going to use, previously people were saying, I'm going to use internet. What do you mean? Okay, internet means Google. If internet means Google, then ChatGPT is artificial intelligence, okay? But this is a big simplification of the world, okay? So think about it, and the ones who are like me are quite old right now, okay? But I can think back, 40-something years working on this stuff, okay? So, and others before me, even older, have been working even more. Okay, so if we think about these artificial intelligence systems, they could be generic systems. ChatGPT is not for education. Okay, like the Google search is not for education. Or there might be other systems that are built especially for education. Okay, so these are the two types of things. So the innovation might be, for a long time, it was about personalized and adaptive learning, okay? And this was based on models of the learners and models of the domains. And this was, this last week, we had the special issue of the International Journal of Artificial Education in Artificial Intelligence in Education. And people say 30 years, okay? 30 years, and so why people did not know about artificial intelligence before? Because in order to get these models, somebody might spend 6 years in order to get a model for second type of mathematical equations, okay? So if you need the third type, well, you need 6 more years, okay? And then probably for the teachers might be assessing what's going on, advising. So this has been quite a typical use. So now that we are in this generative AI stuff, this right now, my statement is that it can serve for almost everything, okay? And this everything that we are going to find out in the following years might serve first to offload some tasks. For example, if I want to read a paper, okay, and it will take me 2 hours to get the outline, I say, please give me the outline, okay? Or probably might scaffold the learning design that teachers create or the student learning. Okay, so this might be our goal, but this is quite far away. And hopefully, again, these days, we are going to discuss more on ways of doing both things. I mean, the first part is already there, okay? So now let's see a few examples, okay? Again, from my history or the field's history, okay? First one, probably the old guys again know it more, hence cognitive tutor, okay? That is a model, a tool that helps autonomously, okay, to students to go through some specific domain, okay? So as I said before, this is based on a skill model, okay? You need to reach the skills, but who creates the model of the skills? Then it provides feedback that is personalized based on the learner model and the domain model. But how it is feedback generated? And it provides hints and provides a glossary, okay? How they are generated. And what I say is that if you take a look on this tool, it's great. And it can be efficient, can be effective too. But there are these things over here are almost black box. But at least the researchers knew what was the skill model, and they could express it. And then the learner model, and there was one movement saying open learning models, so that people would know how I model whether you know well things or not, okay? So great things, but quite some questions over here, okay? This is from one paper by Paul Kirchner, okay, the very late one on discussing the generative AI. And one of the examples he provides is, you know, I give you the introduction of the paper, give me the outline, okay? And it's more or less okay. But if I'm a student, I'm doing this, should I trust this outline or not? Is it a good outline, a bad outline, a medium outline? Who is going to assess and how to assess this product, okay, this outline? And above all, can you understand and you know how this was generated? As I said before, in the previous generation, at least the researcher knew. But now, the researcher does not know. The developer does not know. The OpenAI people do not know. This is quite a new element, okay? The learning analytics, okay? What is learning analytics? You know, data, analysis, processing, whatever. But the red part is the real part, okay? Understanding and optimizing learning and the environment. That is, generate actions, okay? If not, doing analysis of data is nice, interesting, but it's not useful. And for the last, let's say, 15 years, myself, Bruno, we know many people in the world have been working and have been doing different things. First, mining patterns, okay? Get data, patterns of data. Then you get models, predictive models. Are you going to fail or not? Providing dashboards so that the teachers or the students know what's going on. Okay, so these are simplistically three main threads. Okay, so let's see each one. So the first one is to detect at-risk students, no? Like students that are over here, okay? Are you going to fail or not? Says, of course, everybody wants to know whether it's going to fail, or the teacher wants to know, and above all, the institution wants to know. Because if they fail, they do not register, they lose the students and they lose the funding. And mostly, dashboards of this type were promoted by the institutions and not by the teachers and the students. Okay? But anyway, great thing, great models, analysis. The point is, there is a model of data-based model, how it works, and especially the data-based models are trained with data sets. So how it was trained and how the data of the training set were collected. Were they click streams or were the opinions of the students? And who designed this collection? And who is going to use this data? Innocent questions, no? Okay. And because if this works, why should I bother about this stuff? Okay. Other thing, great thing that's very interesting is, okay, you look at the data and what you are trying to find out is what are the strategies that students follow to reach a goal, okay? So these are clusters, okay, data, okay? And the one in red means whatever, and the one in yellow means, or the orange means the other thing. So these are strategies, and then we label with names. He is the observer, he is the assessor, no? Like what was done before. Who does it? Ourselves. The data do not say these things, okay? The label is ours. So, and why the system has put a label on me that I'm an observer. An observer is a concept. And they derived conclusions based on data. These data are proxies to the concepts. And therefore, they depend on what data you collect and how do you define the proxies. It's not that this is, I am an observer. That is based on the data that were collected and based on the indicators and based on mine, I label you as observer. Who interprets the data? And of course, if the orange one is the bad guy, I mean the bad strategy, if I have trained the whole system with bad students, whatever, this will be the output, of course. Junk in, junk out, okay? Whatever, the outcome depends on the output depends on the input, okay? So, these are dashboards, great dashboards. Teacher has a global view of what's going on. And I find my teacher say, lots of green, and this means over here that the thermostat is going back, down, yes. So I'm trying to make sense out of these graphs, okay? And if Jim looks at this dashboard and I look at this dashboard, probably we get different results because we make sense according to our mind. And is this my sense making is better than Jim's or not? But so the answer typically when a new technology is introduced is that, well, you know, we need to show to the students and the teachers lots of data visualizations. So what's the answer? Teachers, students should study data modeling and whatever, you know, one analysis, 6 more courses, professional development. And if we have generative AI, 3 more courses, and then it will have the big data, second generation, and 3 more courses, and so on, okay? And it's okay, it's necessary, but is it sufficient? And then why, when you were asking before this, the teachers, should I use it, or the students? This is one, sense making requires workload, and especially mental. Do I get something out of this that compensates the workload that I have made? Many questions, no? This is one system that we have already developed. And these, people who go to the field and do some field work and some field class, formal, informal, we collect data and we provide recommendations. And the recommendations are based on a student model and a reaction script model, okay? That is based on the model of the students and the data that you collect or whatever. We say, well, this is the recommendation. So the point is, how did we collect how we build the model? Who built the model? Who decided what are the scripts for the reaction? And of course, should students provide their data in their informal environment? Of course, we are good guys, no? Professors, what we want to do is that they learn better and whatever, okay? And privacy is typically for the bad guys, okay? The point is, who are the good guys and who are the bad guys? No? And then, depending whether you are a bad guy, I'm going to prohibit you. But if you are a good guy, then it's okay. Okay. So, after all this stuff, we can see that there are so many things that we can do. And probably we are going to, with learning analytics, that probably we enhance efficiency and effectiveness. Okay? But the point is that typically they are developed by researchers and technical developers, okay, as we were saying before, no? And they typically forget something that every teacher that starts their first year of their teacher training program, that they are the ones who are going to lead the things and they are going to want to design what they are going to do and to orchestrate what they are going to do. So why should myself, who am the old researcher who knows well things, should decide what teachers should do? Okay. This means that the teacher agency is threatened because they are not taken into account, simply. Okay. The second thing is, okay, hopefully, I mean, if we have, for example, generative AI, for sure, productivity is going to increase. Student learning, who knows? I'm not sure. But is it transparent? Is it trustful? And this has to do with the agency of the students. So all the questions that I were posing before had to do with agency. If we don't care about agency, then these dilemmas do not exist. Okay? Because if I think on the efficiency, the productivity, then we don't care. I mean, if it's like, in the production line, if you produce oil or whatever, if you get 3 liters of oil instead of 2, you don't care whether it is ethically whatever good. Okay? But since teaching and learning is about humans, that is the teachers and the students, probably teachers and students have something to say. A little bit, at least. No? And this is something strange that all the education and technology people like me typically think that students and teachers are, well, yeah, we know how to help them. And this is why we have failed for so many years, one of the reasons. So the faith principles that are not specific to education, and you can have many combinations, no? have to do with all these terms that we are going to mention later. The first thing is that there is no single definition. There is a literature survey that I looked, and there is no agreement on what fairness means, on what transparency means, and whatever. So if we don't understand the terms, then probably we cannot agree on how to deal with these things. But for example, if you take a look at what the European Union, where I come from, okay, in 2019, okay, just before our prior project, okay, they were saying that it's trustworthy is the cornerstone, and they were including these things: privacy, transparency, human agency, and oversight. And this is a policy statement. And now, of course, you can see that there are many policy statements like that. Okay. For example, Jeremy Rossell, okay, that digital promise, okay, and created a panel in the United States, and the output finally was, it has to be human-centered. It has to be responsible. It has to deal with ethics and equity, and it's not one list of 60 things. It's a list of 7. Okay. So fairness, for example, just to give one example, this is a bias, classical bias. Okay. I do remember once, many years ago, that I was one of my ex-students. I was in Boston, and she said, my ex-students in Greece, I mean, she told me, well, we're in a meeting, saying, well, somebody has stolen this in this house. Okay, she said, a black guy made a robbery. See, how do you know it's a black guy? Say, well, this is bias. Okay, and if you look at the data, they can tell you, yes, it is more probable. But this does not mean that I'm not the one to do the robbery. The second thing, the accountability is a bit more complex. It's compliance with the policy. Okay, you've said before, okay, that this Canadian law now did not allow you to continue the project, okay? And this is an obstacle, okay? Because it has to do with anonymization, okay? And anonymization, okay, makes it us as a researchers life difficult. But is it necessary or not? My answer is yes. The responsibility of the users, of the designers of the systems, and the algorithms that they'll implement it. There's multiple responsibility. Of course, if we ask OpenAI, for example, to have responsibility and accountability, okay, they say, well, yes, yeah, or Facebook, okay, they say, yes, but what I want to get is more money, no? This is my objective, no? Well, if in the meantime there are 3 suicides, but this minor effect, lateral effect, okay? Transparency, the transparency is probably the most difficult thing to achieve. That is how it works internally, what is the relation between input and output, and what is the relation between what goes inside and the output. And the problem is right now, generative AI, that not even OpenAI knows how it works internally. Okay, so transparency, complete transparency is not possible. Okay, and of course, it should be scrutinizable on open resources. And if we don't know what are the training data sets, then it's not scrutinizable. Okay. And ethics have to do lots of things. Of course, privacy is the most important thing. Typically, in the academic world, the first thing that people think about AI is, integrity. People are going to cheat. And then let's create another policy so that we can supervise, that we avoid that people cheat and whatever, okay? But integrity is more than cheating or less than cheating, okay? The well-being, as we're going to discuss later, well-being, that's what we do. If we compare students' performance with the best performers, and I find out that I am the worst in my class, does it enhance my well-being or not? Or simply I say, wow. Okay, because awareness might be a bit dangerous, okay? And I don't say about the environmental impact data. The predicted consumption of energy of generative AI and the existing data centers, big data, could be 23%. And last year in the US, it was 10%. Okay, and the solution that was given is that the technology providers should generate energy with nuclear fusion themselves. So this is the answer. Okay, so think about it. So it is incredibly important. Okay, so what are the following things that might appear? Okay, if we have time enough. First thing, okay, why the agency is important. I hope that I have convinced you. Why human-centeredness is important. This is true. And this was one of my questions when I was preparing this talk. What should I tell the Sortis community? Should I convince them that it should be human-centered? Should I convince them that they should be in a community? Well, they do it. But I need to convince typically the researchers and the policymakers and all this stuff. So some suggestions, some examples, and depending on the time, we can see more examples or less examples. If you are interested, for the ones who stay over here the rest of the week, we can discuss many of these topics, okay? If not, well, it's okay. And the slides are available, okay? So the first thing is why the human-centeredness is critical in order to achieve agency and to comply with the FAID principles, okay? So one of the main things, initial things that nowadays is a doctoral student of mine who has been working for 2 years on this topic. And we're trying to see what is agency. So one of the models, okay, is that it is based on the past, it is projects to the future, and practically it is what I'm doing now, okay? If there are different alternatives, and if there are emergent elements, okay? This is the Priestley's model. I think it's the best, personally. The second thing is that if we took the teachers, for example, the professional agency, okay? You make choices, you accept influence, and you take a stance, okay? So this is what we are doing normally, okay? And this depends on the context, and this depends on the professional development and whatever, okay? And then we have this teacher agency model that says, well, first I examine myself, what I'm doing. Then I probably plan, or before, who knows. Then I think of what's going to be the future, and then probably do some self-regulation. This is a cycle. And if I cannot do one of these things, probably my agency is a bit less. Okay. And then we have digital agency. That is how myself as a teacher, as a student, as a human, can control, should I control or should I adapt to what exists? Should I be proactive? Should be aware of the data? And how do I decide what is relevant or not? Okay. So this is the digital agency. Okay. So different definitions. And strangely enough, we have found out in our literature review that there are very few research works dealing with agency and AI learning analytics. It's very strange. They are appearing right now. There are some others talking about autonomy, okay? That is a limited facet of agency, okay? But hopefully, I mean, now we can see a rise because of what I've said before, okay? So if agency is important, human-centeredness might be important, okay? And typically, there are the researchers who do the things or the top-down approaches, but probably the users are the partners. The partners, a community like the one Salt is about with talking about partners. It's not, you know, the head, somebody who says, and I say yes, okay? Participatory design probably might be the most human-centered. Of course, taking some surveys is great. An interview is much better than not having an interview. But this is not enough. Co-designing is the approach. And co-designing is complex and time-consuming. This is one of the main reasons why people do not co-design. Beyond the belief that we know, since we are experts, we know. So why should we ask the students? Okay, we know, we have been studying things. So if we talk about learning analytics, is understand who are the stakeholders, learners, students, and management, for example, no? The relationships and the context. You cannot create something, a learning analytics dashboard that would work in online teaching and learning in Montreal or in a face-to-face in Valladolid. No, no. This is something that I have learned being an engineer myself. That is, it depends on the context. Okay? So what should do? Include it. Have empathy. Empathy meaning not only taking the notes and coding. Empathy means understanding, feeling what the other does. And therefore, the issue is, okay, yes, but there is a lot of technology that has not been designed using a human-centered approach, but it works. So people adapt to the technology or the technology adapts to the people. Who knows, okay? So we talk about the tasks and the activities. And human-centered does not mean that we'll only look at the human. We look at the socio-technical system that includes the humans and the social context and the technology, okay? Human-centered does not mean, I think that this is the best solution, okay? Okay, so one of the proposals is about what Ken Holstein and the others were saying, this another framework, okay, about the augmented teacher, okay? Now we talk a lot about the augmented student, the augmented citizen, no? And what is the idea that we we as humans and the agents, learning analytic agents, AI agents, generative AI agents, all these software agents, human agents and software agents, have complementary skills. So the point is how we can find the complementarity and try to improve, and each one of the agents learn from the other. Okay? And how to do it? Of course, we have to take decisions when you are a teacher, when you are a student. And in some cases, for example, if you are based on the sensors, if you want to see what's going on in this room, as a human, I'm limited. Okay, if I look at Lisa, I cannot look at whatever, another guy. Okay, while a camera that makes whatever, so augments the perception of what's going on. And then, of course, it makes it more scalable, or it allows us to decide, take decisions on what are the interventions that we are going to make, either myself for my own learning or myself regarding the class, okay? And we can do it during the learn time and for a specific task, okay? So this, in CMU, they have done a very nice project for several years, and they are more or less keep going on. And this was a very specific problem of orchestration. That is, at a certain moment, you have an individual activity. And a further moment, you have a group activity. How you are going to decide when and who are going to be involved in the group activities, this transition. Okay? So this is the co-orchestration. In their case, they were talking about not a generative AI systems, but for an intelligent tutoring system. Okay? And they made lots of studies, human-centered design, whatever, great works, many papers, very nice papers, okay? And they showed why these participatory approaches at least make us understand what are the best answers. And you know that the answer was depends. It depends. Sometimes it's better that the software agent takes a decision, and sometimes it's me, but I always need to know why. Okay? Okay, so there are several words for the humans, depending, in command, on the loop, in the loop. My extreme approach is in the loop. But I am aware that this is an extremely expensive approach. Okay? And Mutlu Kukurova, in one talk recently, was talking about the quadrants, okay? And he was talking mostly on multimodal learning analytics, okay? And he was saying that probably if we tightly couple the human agents and the computer agents, the software agents, then this co-creation might be the solution, okay? The point is how we reach this quadrant, okay? And the answer, according to Mutlu, is transparency and human-centeredness, okay? So, okay, learning analytics, I guess that I have convinced you somehow that they are important, and the human-centeredness. Why things have not happened up to now? First thing is that typically it is, there is a new technology that has some affordances, let's go. There is a machine learning algorithm, let's use it. Teachers and designers typically are not considered. The hybrid systems typically are not considered. And something that is very sad is that learning theories are not there. It's very sad. I mean, it's a paper by Dragan saying, don't forget that learning analytics is about learning. And learning has to do with learning theories. Okay? So I will skip through some of the things that you probably know, all these people, okay? That the spaces, the hybrid spaces are extremely complex, okay? Lots of devices, things, physical, virtual, people, groups, classes. There is the orchestration. What teachers do, formally or informally, is to design and orchestrate, okay? And design, see what's going on, manage what's going on, adapt. And this is based, and this is one more framework that we have proposed, okay? And teachers and designers are, they are designers, even if they do not think so. The point is that teachers typically use tacit knowledge, okay? And sometimes explicit knowledge, sometimes. Of course, there were many tools that have been provided in order to support design and orchestration, among others, ours. Okay? But these tools, not very successful. You have created a learning design tool, the course flow, no? And probably it's more successful than our tools, okay? Although there are some things have been there already in practice, okay? But I'm not totally pessimistic, okay? So, if we have the teacher, the technology, some LMS, no? And the students, we need some technology that mediates, okay? And sometimes what we want to do is to find the balance, okay? Mike Sharps was saying that probably if we add more technology even over there in the orchestration, we make it even more complex, and then it goes against the, we need to have this precious orchestration load that can be productive sometimes. And what we knew for a long time is that technologies allow us to collect data, understand what's going on, compare, and advise. Okay? 2005, okay? This is a great paper that I totally recommend by Alisa Weiss, and talks about a model on how we work with the learning analytics, okay? Read the data, understand the patterns, take actions, or reflect. You know, this is a model that connects sense-making and actions, okay? And when we see learning analytics, I mean, these are great visualizations. Wow, yeah, I can see. So, but what is the effect? But if I know that over there I've got an exam, and before the previous day, nobody or everybody was studying, well, this is an important analytic. Okay. And also, the work by Anushka McLevin is that say that her studies that if you provide data visualizations on for awareness or visualizations and advising, then, for example, teachers go better. They will take decisions better. Okay. Okay. So learning analytics are not great by themselves, but they may require some more prerequisites. Okay, these are some of the prerequisites that I'm going to skip a few things. Okay, this is one of the great models that I again suggest on hybrid human AI by Inge Molinar, okay? Says how the control might be on the human or on the machine. And this is one model that I have proposed, but this is not important, okay? So we lead to the hybrid intelligence, okay? And this is a paper not about education, okay? It's technical paper, okay? Where the agents learn from the humans, adapt to the humans, share the goals, the awareness, okay? And this is something that is the promise. And a few years ago, very few people were talking about it. Now more people talk about it, okay? So what are some suggestions? First, for the ones of you who are familiar, okay, take the learning design, the learning analytics together. Okay, I do not have time today to discuss why. Try to see adaptive things and adaptable things. Okay? Teacher in the loop. Talk to all stakeholders. The consolidated models says, among others, theory. Design, it is data, and it's theory. There are workflows, very nice workflows on how we design. And the last thing is something very promising to me, that is we tell stories with data and we explain with data, okay? The point is, if we explain something according to me, it's going to be, I'm going to bias this teacher. It's another, okay? So going to the end, I'm simply going to say that this was a huge project in which I was happy to participate in Berkeley from 2017 to 20, okay? And what we tried to do was align a dashboard, okay? Yet another dashboard, okay? Not going to say how and why. Learning theory, constraints, DBR, 3 years going around, okay? 3 years, okay? Not 1 week. There was a theory behind it, okay, that Jim knows very well. So the design, the learning designs were based on the theory. And since it was based on the theory, our analytics could answer the questions of the theory. Okay? And this is an example why we did not choose the easy data, but we used the data that were relevant to their learning. And they were not the click streams. I'm not going to explain it. Following days, if you want, I can talk to you about this a lot. And we found out that our prediction, okay, on that this was important was really true. And therefore, we changed the system due to our analytics, because learning analytics are about optimizing. It's not about having nice visualizations. And then we created this ugly system, no? Very ugly system. It was mail report. And then we found out that when teachers who had participated in the co-design used it, that even the same teachers who have participated in the co-design took different actions depending on the analytics. But the fact that it was based on theory allowed them to take some informed decisions, okay? And this was the fancy, dashboard. Okay? In the end, we're providing recommendations and all this stuff. And in the end, we found out that it depends. No, a very sad conclusion for an engineer like me, okay? I do it and it depends. It depends on who? On the teacher. But yes, the teacher who was co-designed with us. Yes, because it depends. Okay. A few examples of what we are doing now. This is one of our great projects. Great as activists, no, but also as researchers, okay, for the last 5 years, and we were funded for that for 5 more years, okay, and it is for the ones who have gone through a PhD or the ones who plan to do or the ones who are doing a PhD, that well-being is probably the most critical aspect of the doctoral students. 3 times more prevalence of mental health problems. And why? Because people are alone. During 4 years. Steady. No? So we have doing analytics that are based on single case. That is not in cohorts. It's very strange. We don't talk about cohorts. It's single case analytics, okay? So we have been designing and we are going to redesign the tools that we use in our workshops. This is our activism. We don't want only to understand what's going on, but we want to change the reality, okay? And this is our dream. Our dream is that the whole process on how one says, this is my problem, this is my data that I'm going to follow. These are the models, these are the indicators, this is the advice, this is what I do. Can be done by the learners, the doctoral students, the supervisors, the researchers, or the agents, the software agents. And this is one script of how different humans and different software agents might interact. This is what I was trying to suggest in our conversations before, okay? Because some things can be done better by the software agent. I mean, doing the classification is much easier to do it using the software agent than doing it myself, okay? And the last part has to do with one paper that we're trying now to put together, yet another commentary paper on what happens with AI, generative AI, and education. And what we were proposing here is the learning analytics, learning design cycle. And in what things the generative AI can help, taking into account the analytics, because this is one of the huge problems right now. Now that we have discovered that generative AI is great, we forget about the data. Although the generative AI is fed with data. And it seems that now learning analytics or course analytics or design analytics or community analytics are not important. And this is a huge danger again. This is one of the shifts, okay? We go to the new wave and we forget the previous one. And that's why I was also asking before, what's going on? And since I'm getting older, I find out that this is a critical issue, okay? Why we do things. Okay, so finally, I hope that I have convinced you somehow that if we take the human-centered approach, in spite of the costs of the time and the resources, because building a community like the Soltis community takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of people. And this is not done in one day, okay? And learning depends on the context, okay? So what are the messages? Probably what we have, things are very powerful. For example, generative AI, I still do not know, and I guess that nobody knows, what is the full potential. And this is something that I mean, typically with the new technologies on the new threads, I could more or less predict because I knew. But now I don't know. So I cannot predict. But for sure, they're extremely powerful. That the fate is not a side effect. Fate does not have to do with efficiency. Not even with effectiveness. It's about the humans. It's about values. It's about individual values. It's about society values. Okay? The human-centered approaches might work for design tools, help teachers design and orchestrate, and to augment them. And these scripts that we are looking for now, scripts in which we have humans and software agents trying to find what are the productive scripts, now we have a huge new problem, okay, to solve, but it's very challenging. This is what came out yesterday, okay? Our editorial on the human-centered learning analytics 2019 to 2024. Why 2019? Because the previous special issue of Journal of Learning Analytics was in 2019. So we say few things about what happened in these last 5 years, okay? So you can read it, okay? There are 5 papers, great. One of them is ours, okay? And this is my last message, okay? It's very simple message, okay? So I don't need to read it, okay? That's all for me, okay?
Whatever I say next is not going to be nearly important enough for, thank you. Thank you so much, Yannis. This was amazing. We all, you captured these young people, which is, the fact that they're still staying here, it's amazing. So you could capture us, we're easy, but these are hard. Thank you so much. We're opening up for questions. Feel free to ask questions. Feel free to ask questions. And we'll continue answering questions.
Or counter arguments, okay? Mm-hmm.
Who's brave enough?
Yeah.
So when it comes to fate and all of that, I assume that there are some variances from area to area and like the demands students and teachers might have. So how do we create models that are that work for a wide range of areas and contexts?
You mean models? You mean language models?
Not just language models, but how do we design our education models in a way that works in a wide variety of contexts?
Yeah. My answer is you cannot do it.
Okay.
Okay. In our paper, in this special issue, we talk about the dilemma of doing things at scale and things that are deep in context. So typically, you cannot do something at scale and at the same time deep in context. So we propose ways, if you read the paper, okay, to do it, to bridge these two extremes. But I think that one has to decide. For example, at the MOOC scale, at the MOOC level, that's one interesting thing that nobody talks about MOOCs now because they are old-fashioned, no? Okay, but when 2012 No, New York Times, they were saying MOOC will change the education. Okay, you remember it, no? Probably the old ones.
Define MOOC for the students
Yeah,
who aren't versed in the acronyms.
yeah.
Massive open on.
Oh, yeah, massive open online courses, okay? But I guess that we have probably attended some courses, okay, like that, okay? So in that case, the promise of the MOOCs was, yes, we can reach lots of people, so we can democratize knowledge. And it's partially true. And at the same time, they were saying, yes, but this means that group work is impossible. Because group work is not scalable by definition, because it has lots of interactions. So our project back in 2014 was called Reset, saying, no, MOOCs will not drive us back to the work that does not involve group work. And we have to find ways to keep group work at and scale. The answer is, well, we propose few things, but the answer is not easy. Okay, that's why my answer about depth and scale is that in many cases, and humans, we are very strange. No, not even myself, I'm the same like 10 years ago. So how I can say that this fits my model, my personal model? And what we say, if it is physics or it's mathematics, or it is about China, or about a poor neighborhood, or the rich. Who? For who? Okay. So yeah, so this is my answer. Okay, I have not found a way to do it. For sure, many of the initiatives go for the big scale, and ChatGPT is one good example of so it achieves scale. But then with the depth, and now there are many solutions or many attempts to solve the depth. One more answer to your simple question, but very deep question. Okay. Most of the people still think that the technology and science will provide the answer. This is what they call the techno-solutionism. Is that solutions provided by technology. This is what has driven us for centuries, okay? And still, it seems that things progress. Then we will find out we need more energy. Well, nuclear fusion. But if something happens with the nuclear fusion, it explodes. Well, that's low probability. But if it explodes, okay. So this is the answer. Okay. I don't know if I hope that you have more things that you have thought of.
Thanks for a really interesting talk. I've noticed that there's been a lot of wonderful frameworks that have come out, especially in the last year or two, and I look forward to reading this one, yours. One of the things I've also noticed with international conferences over the last couple of years, it has been a while since I've been to AINet, I've been on the program committee for a long time, but it's been a while since I've been there. A lot of the technologies that we're using in artificial intelligence in education and continue to use are still a bit of a distance from where AI is, unsurprisingly, as is the case with a lot of industry. But from listening to talks about frameworks, hearing about how kind of where a lot of technologies are, a lot of learning technologies are for students, Where do you have any kind of, some thoughts on kind of how we go from, from frameworks? We've got kind of frameworks, we've got, ChatGPT and other types of generative AI, and then we have our, largely Wizard of Oz or intelligent pedagogical agents and virtual agent systems. Kind of how do we bring kind of these pieces together to move forward? Because a lot of I won't name any names or systems, but the majority of the AI net ITS systems are understandably not generative AI based, and they don't provide, especially those that don't have any natural language processing in them. There's not a lot of affordance for a lot of the human AI teaming, etc. So where do we go after working on these frameworks? And they're a really important part. What do you see as some of these other pieces of
Well, I'm an engineer, okay? Although does not seem like I am, okay? So I have developed, analyzed, designed technology, looked at technologies, and as my topic, okay? So something that I have learned is that technologies come and go, okay? Technology, the trends, okay? It is multi-agent architecture based on knowledge models, or it is based on data-generated language models, or it is database analytics, or it is word processing, or it is what, okay? So I don't have an answer on who is going to dominate, okay? What I know is that, as I tried to show before, is that we are in a socio-technical system, okay? And the technologies are one part of the system, okay? So they will survive, some of them will survive in this ecosystem, okay? And some of them not. And some of them will be combined, and some of them not, okay? So I think that a positive answer is we should, the point is, who are we? The researchers, the technology developers, the policymakers, the teachers, or the learners? Who? Who we decide? Do we decide? Myself, do I decide? Or it's OpenAI who decides? I don't know. Probably more OpenAI than myself. Okay? So we decide what fits better. Some people think, okay, I'm going to use my cell phone, like Liz was saying, everywhere, because if not, I'm lost. I don't use a cell phone and I still survive. Who is doing better, myself or her? I don't know. Okay, so, and the point is over here that when we think, for example, why ITS did not survive, or there are still several things that are very nice and are still there. In mathematics, they are still working. Okay, CMU, the Carnegie Mellon systems are working and they are doing great. But they have spent years and years in order to develop the domain models. Okay, so it's not sustainable. It's not extensible. Okay, this is something that we learned through time. So my last point is that if you think, as I was saying before, okay, in a win-win model, I don't agree with you. Okay, that is, if you use something, you lose some other thing. If you use Google Maps, people do not know, they go right, go left, and they go right, and they go left. And it says, but finally, do you go straight or not? I don't know. This is what Google Maps is telling me. So probably you are more efficient in navigating in a city, but probably your orientation skills are getting like that. So finally, what do you want to achieve? Is it productivity? It is efficiency. It is effectiveness. It is privacy. It is well-being. What do you want? And the point is that typically you cannot achieve everything. It's not a win-win system. It's a win-lose system. So, and everybody in this society is going to follow this one solution? Probably not. There will be strange guys who are going to do it a different way. And they form the tribes, okay? And these tribes might be bigger or smaller, or they might disappear, okay? So, for example, right now, the large language models, of course, are extremely dominant. We don't know. Probably they will change. I don't know. I have no idea. I had a different opinion 2 years ago and now. Okay. Who knows what's going to happen in 2 years, okay? And it does not depend on me. This is my problem. And it's not only that it depends on OpenAI. That's a big problem. But the problem is that in many cases, I mean, since we don't know how it works, we cannot interpret it. Okay, so we try to say, okay, we've got a big ball and we try to see how we can move the ball. But we don't know how the ball moves and why. Of course, moving the ball efficiently might allow us to get 20 goals, okay, in our game, okay? But, and this is frightening to me, extremely frightening. I don't know, I mean, as a scientist, it's the first time right now in a big scale that I feel that I'm not able to react, to understand. Okay, 40 years ago, I was working on neural models, okay, human models for handwriting, how we produce handwriting, how we recognize handwriting. These were neural models. And I knew that more or less, and I knew that neural models cannot be interpreted. But, well, from the scientific point of view, I was saying, yes, this is human mind. And, well, we are trying to understand the human mind. Difficult thing. But now we have a language model that can do extreme things, and I cannot understand why. And OpenAI does not understand why. Of course, they cannot understand more things. For example, they know how they train, and this is a critical thing. Okay, so this is my long answer, so I don't have an answer.
It was a very open-ended question. I didn't expect a definitive answer. So thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not optimistic. I'm getting too old, probably. Because I have hoped so many times, but yeah.
We have a question from the online audience from Nadia. And she says, some colleges in Montreal and around the world are already offering certificates and or degrees in AI and machine learning. Given the pace that each generation picks up digital tools with ease, do you think this will eventually become a commonplace topic taught in secondary schools? And if so, at the expense of which other topics?
Oh, wow. Yes, this has to do with literacy, okay? So, as we all know, and education over here, literacy is the prerequisite for everything, okay? My grandmother could not read. Then she could do 3 things. Could not read, really, okay? And I can do more things. Why? Because I'm literate in some ways. The point is that literacy is infinite. And the people that are in the education system know what this means. My wife, who has been for 35 years school teacher, and I owe many things to her, always saying, well, it's about security, or how to cross the roads. A new topic in sixth grade. And now we have bullying, another topic in seventh grade. And then we have internet, another topic in whatever. So typically, yes, if we have something about machine learning and you understand how classification is done, and that classification is based on data set, and data sets can be biased, if you can understand it, then you can interpret the results. So it's a huge tool for us. The point is that we cannot fit everything in the educational system. Because sometimes, for example, in order that people learn more about machine learning, they eliminate philosophy, classical thinking. No? Why should we study philosophy? Machine learning, internet, things, philosophy, things. Okay? And our philosophy guys over here that I extremely respect say, yes, you should study philosophy. So, philosophy or machine learning? What I do in my research methodology courses is that I start with philosophy, and in the end, we talk about methodologies. Because philosophy is thinking, reflecting about what we are doing. Okay? So, is it important? My answer is critical thinking is the answer. Can we develop our critical thinking skills? If we can do it through literacy, great. If we can do it through practice, great. If we can do it through peer learning, great. But not accept that this is true because Google is telling me that, or because ChatGPT is telling me that. And this is terrible. Yeah.
So thank you for, during your presentation, for bringing back the importance of co-design and the value of co-design. And I never thought of a learning analytic or any AI thingy to be part of the co-design process. But the very practical practitioner brain part of me is really trying to think, how does it look like? What would a co-design team or process look like in the spirit of having students with us? Can you give us an example, practical example?
I guess that you have been interacting with the solstice community. So you know what is co-design, because the course flow is a product of co-design. And was it designed because somebody said, okay, now in the following 3 years, we have a project funded with 3 million in order to create course flow? No, it became because there were needs, there were solutions, there was interest, and things were evolving. And probably the first prototype of course flow might have been totally different from the last one. And probably the first one will be probably the best. Who knows? No? So co-design is evolution, okay? And co-design is extremely expensive. This is the main cost. But democracy is expensive. Hearing the others is expensive. Talking with the others is expensive. Discussing is expensive. Takes time, energy. It's not efficient. But or sometimes can be efficient. But typically when we learn, the matter is not to be efficient. The matter is to learn. Yeah.
You're saying that, when he teaches the efficiency, but often I see from the student's perspective, for them, efficiency is very important.
Yes,
They have their eye on what are going to be the assessment, what counts. You know, they're very strategic in the way that they parse out their time, their attention, and so that's also, and I feel sad sometimes that we can't provide them with an environment where they don't feel like they have to be like that, be there. But anyway, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
when I'm so categorical and I'm Greek, no? So sometimes I'm very like that. When I say that learning is about learning, it's not about efficiency. This does not mean that if learning is efficient, is worse, okay? If I can learn the same things in 1 hour instead of spending 10, great, okay? The point is that learning is not, it's not an industrial pipeline, okay? Where you want to produce lots of tons of oil, of refined oil, it's not, okay? So finding the balance is the important thing. And then we go back here.
Sorry, it's a very simple question, but could you please define efficiency and effectiveness in learning?
Yeah.
It's sort of a fundamental question.
Yeah, efficiency means it's an engineering concept, efficiency and effectiveness. Efficiency means achieve your goals with less resources. This is the essence of engineering, okay? I'm an engineer. Effectiveness means I do the thing, okay? Physicists typically are look for effectiveness, not for efficiency. Well, no, look for, is it the best way, the less resources? I don't mind, okay? So yeah, so this is the, yeah, you wanted, I mean, there was a question here first, I think, yeah.
Go ahead, okay. So I was gonna ask you a question that I guess two parts, and both parts may not be related to each other. So first is that I've heard humanistic learning analytics, I've heard now from human-centered learning analytics, and I've heard data humanism, which looks at like data is not representative of the human. And so like, what are your thoughts on these three? And then I'm wondering why your red bar is on the human and not on society. Because should we not be thinking, especially with language learning models consuming so much of the environment and having such a huge impact, should we not be thinking about analytics moving forward as the red on society and not on humans?
Yeah.
And when we talk of humans, are we talking about the individual or the collective? And if we're talking about the collective, then the red should be on the society and not the human.
Yeah, okay. So, correct. So I start from the second part. You remember, probably you remember one of the main slides was, is it human-centric or is human-centered? Okay, and human-centric means I look at the human and that's it. Human-centered means that I look at the human within a socio-technical system that includes a society and the technology, okay? This means that I am an individual, okay? This is a fact, okay? And you are an individual, and together we are form different parts of society, okay? So that depends on the unit. But it is clear that human-centeredness, it's not human-centric, okay? That is, I could have clearly pointed out that society is the, for me, it's more relevant, okay? But it is my view, okay? My political view. So it depends. I mean, it depends on where we put the focus. And I clearly say that it's not human-centric, okay? It's my view. That's why there was a slide on that. The second about, I do not remember the three models, but this.
Humanistic.
Humanistic. Humanistic. Yeah.
Data humanism and human-centered.
Yeah, okay. I still need to learn more in order to understand the concepts, okay? That's why philosophy is very important, okay? Because understanding the concepts is not trivial. Because what we do, as I mentioned before, if we talk about the concept, active learning is a concept. And when you are in a class, you have an instance of something that happens that might be active learning or not. Who knows? Okay. And you measure it through proxies. Okay. So what I have studied few things, but I have not studied everything. Okay. So I work mostly on proxies on the concepts. Okay. So clearly, I can say, and this is my conclusion based on my experience, that, as Bruno was mentioning before, if you get data about me, it's not me. Because, for example, if I don't use a cell phone, and you'd use a cell phone, you don't have almost any data from me. So how you are going to categorize me? Or if somebody takes data from the Moodle, but does not take data of what's going on in home or in the bar. So these data are partial representations of the humans. Okay. So for sure, data are proxies to entities. Okay. That's why when I was saying, what is a learning strategy? So I take some data and I try to infer what is your strategy. But probably your strategy could be pragmatic, simply because you do not have time today. And tomorrow you are going to change because you got more free time or you are sick. Who knows? Depends on the context. Okay. But the data themselves do not talk about the context. And they are partial. So they cannot represent for sure. They are proxies to humans. Okay. This is about the data. That's why I think that data are extremely useful. I'm a scientist, okay, but they are not the everything. About the center network, what I wanted to show with this last slide was mainly that it's not the data. It's not the language model, for example, that is a result of the data, okay? Lots of data sets that finally are represented in a big model, okay? It's not about the models. The models are partial representations of what's going on, okay? So the humans and the human groupings, society, are very difficult to characterize, okay? So that's why, but I still think that the elements that do not have to do with the classical effectiveness, efficiency stuff, produce more oil. It's great. If you can produce more, that's fine. But if you produce more oil on the cost of contaminating the sea, no. So what is the dilemmas, okay? And about the humanism, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what. I mean, I would say crazy things. So I prefer not to say what I think because we have probably experts. So okay, so I cannot say, but I think that especially in education, this is for example, the faith principles are very relevant. I don't know if they are more relevant or less relevant than effectiveness. That is, that I learned the third law of whatever. That's nice. I mean, if we can do both things, that would be great. But I don't know. Mm-hmm.